No price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. Friedrich Nietzsche. But most people, they never pay it. They pay to fit in. They pay to be liked. They pay to be numb, but never to be free. Because freedom has a cost. And that cost is everything fake. Your comfort, your borrowed beliefs, your scripted little identity. To own yourself, you have to stand where no one stands with you. You have to say what no one wants to hear. You have to live in a way that no one understands. That's what Nietzsche did. He didn't bend. He didn't follow. He didn't fake. He walked out of the institutions. He walked out of religion. He walked out of the crowd and into the fire. He was called arrogant. He was called insane. But he was just awake in a world that sleeps with its eyes open. He suffered. He broke. He vanished into silence. But before he did, he wrote. Wrote with pain. Wrote with fire. Wrote with the madness of a man who refused to die a copy. He owned himself. Fully. Ruthlessly. Without apology. Now the question turns to you. Do you, or are you still dancing for acceptance, while your soul begs for silence? This is not a motivational speech. This is a confrontation between who you are and who you were supposed to become. This is Nietzsche, not the textbook version, but the raw, the real, the blood-stained rebel of philosophy. And these are the 5 laws of ownership, not ideas, not concepts, but psychological weapons. If you let them, they will break you. And then, if you survive, they will build you back into something that can no longer be broken. This is how to own yourself. Dare to stand alone. Greatness means being noble, wanting to be by oneself. Nietzsche. Most people are not living, they're obeying. Not because they're weak, but because they've never been allowed to stand still long enough to hear their own thoughts without someone correcting them. From childhood, we're conditioned, rewarded for being agreeable, punished for being too different, taught to shrink ourselves until we fit. Fit what? Someone else's expectations, someone else's system, someone else's comfort. You learn to survive by becoming less of who you are. Nietzsche saw this early. He saw how society doesn't destroy people with violence. It destroys them with approval. The more you depend on others for your sense of self, the more you trade ownership for belonging. You don't even notice it. It feels normal. You shape your words to match the room. You hide your fire to keep the peace. And slowly, you forget what your voice even sounds like when you're not performing. Standing alone isn't a romantic idea. It's a painful detachment from everything that once made you feel safe. When you no longer agree just to keep the peace, you will lose people. You will lose status. You will lose your illusion of control. But you will gain yourself. That's the trade. And Nietzsche made it. Completely. He lost academia. He lost reputation. He lost even his sanity. But he did not lose his voice. He wrote through the madness, through the migraines, through the rejection, because he'd rather burn alone in truth than sleep comfortably in illusion. That's what it means to own yourself. Not to be loud. Not to be rebellious for the sake of rebellion. But to know who you are so clearly that even silence cannot shake it. It's not about rejecting people. It's about protecting the only thing that cannot be replaced. Your inner authority. So no, this is not about becoming a lone wolf. It's about becoming a man who can walk alone without collapsing. That's real power. That's sovereignty. Stand alone. Bleed if you must. But never, ever kneel for validation. Follow your wildest dreams. I know of no better life purpose than to perish in attempting the great and the impossible. Nietzsche. Most people don't fear death. They fear dying without applause. They fear trying and being watched when they fail. So they trade fire for safety, trade soul for salary, trade calling for comfort, and call it a good life. But Nietzsche didn't live to succeed. He didn't live to be admired. He lived to burn, to scream into the void, to wrestle with gods and demons, and call it art. His body was breaking, his mind was fracturing, but his spirit, it refused to kneel. He didn't write for fans. He wrote for eternity. That is the posture of someone who owns himself. You say you want meaning, but you keep choosing what's easy. You keep choosing practical. You keep choosing small. And your soul is suffocating. You were never meant to settle for a paycheck with no pulse. You were never meant to retire into regret. Yes, your wildest dream might cost you everything. It might mock you. It might break you. It might leave you poor, tired, and misunderstood. But if it's real, it will also resurrect you, because it's not about getting there. It's about who you become by walking that impossible road. It's about waking up every day with fire in your chest, not just coffee in your veins. So yes, risk it. Ruin the version of you that was built to please. Walk away from the comfort that's killing you quietly. Because even if you die trying, at least you died alive. And in that death, something eternal is born. So burn the pretend life. Begin the real one. Own your time. Own your pain. Own your impossible dream. Or someone else will own you. Follow your goals, not a system. Many are stubborn in pursuit of the path, few in pursuit of the goal. Nietzsche. Systems are safe. They come with manuals, with titles, with insurance. But goals, real goals, they come with silence, with risk, with nights that don't end and mornings that don't forgive. Society loves systems, because systems create obedient workers, predictable citizens, comfortable slaves. You wake up, you follow a routine, you do what you're told, and you call it life. But Nietzsche saw it clearly. If you're not careful, the path becomes your prison. You confuse the habit for the purpose. You worship the map and forget the destination. A goal doesn't care how polished your schedule is. It only asks one thing. Are you willing to become someone else to reach it? A goal will force you to shed skin, to kill comfort, to evolve. That's why most avoid them. They prefer to follow a system. It's easier. You get to say, I'm doing what I'm supposed to. But supposed to is the slow death of the soul. You weren't built to follow someone else's blueprint. You were built to build your own. So stop. Look at your life. Is your routine leading somewhere real, or just keeping you busy? You need a target, one so massive it breaks your current identity. Then you must stretch until your character is strong enough to carry it. That's the point. Not to arrive, but to become the bridge. Nietzsche called this the path of the Übermensch, the man who builds the future by burning the present. So write your own system. Shape your own path. Don't inherit structure. Craft vision. Because if you don't define your dream, they will define your duties. And you'll spend your life climbing a ladder, only to find it was leaning on the wrong wall. Embrace your demons. Be careful, lest in casting out your demon you exorcise the best thing in you. Nietzsche. You are taught to fear the dark within you, to run from it, to hide it, to silence it. But Nietzsche, he stepped into it, not to destroy it, but to understand it, to confront it, to become it, without being devoured by it. Because what you call demons might just be the wildest, most powerful parts of your soul, twisted from neglect. Your rage, your envy, your lust, your madness. These are not stains, they are signals. They speak of hunger, of pain, of power you've buried because it scared someone else. But if you exile these instincts, if you lock them away and pretend to be pure, you don't become moral. You become fragmented. And a fragmented man is easy to control. He lives by suppression. He performs calmness, but inside, he's at war. Nietzsche knew the truth, the Dionysian truth, that within every man is a chaos too vast for society to accept. So we fake light, we repress shadow, and we wonder why we feel dead inside. Integration is not indulgence, it is alignment. It means owning your jealousy, not letting it rot into resentment, but forging it into fuel. It means owning your rage, not letting it explode, but learning how to burn clean. You do not become strong by pretending to be good. You become strong by knowing your darkness and keeping it on a leash. Because the goal is not to cast out your demons. The goal is to train them, to name them, to wield them. And if you do this right, if you walk through your personal hell and return intact, you will become something terrifying to the world. A man who is no longer ashamed of himself. A man who cannot be manipulated by guilt. A man who is whole. So let your darkness speak, but do not let it rule. Master it, or be mastered by it. Give style to your character. Giving style to one's character, a great and rare art, Nietzsche. This is not about fashion. This is not about looking impressive. This is about creating a soul so deliberate that even your flaws are under your command. This is where the warrior becomes an artist. Anyone can grind. Anyone can chase goals. But few know how to carry pain with grace. Few know how to wear scars like symbols. Few dare to sculpt their soul. Style is not decoration. It's discipline. It's how you hold yourself in the storm. How you speak when you could scream. How you break without begging. Nietzsche didn't just write philosophy. He wrote with rhythm, with madness, with tragedy folded into every sentence like a secret scream. He made music from suffering, art from agony, and a legacy from his loneliness. That's the essence of style. Not to erase your chaos, but to arrange it. To conduct it like a symphony. You need to know your strengths. Yes, but also your defects. So intimately that you can use them. Not hide them, not excuse them, but design with them. You think you're too intense? Then time your intensity like a weapon. You think you're too skeptical? Then aim that doubt at deception. Don't amputate your personality to fit their mold. Refine it. Shape it. Turn it into a force of nature that doesn't ask for permission to exist. The goal isn't to become perfect. The goal is to become intentional. Every gesture, every word, every silence, chosen. That's how you stop reacting to life and start composing it. So don't just live, create. Don't just survive, craft. Because when you give style to your character, even your suffering becomes part of the performance. And you become unforgettable. Owning yourself is not a trend. It's not self-help. It's not a feel-good quote for your feed. It's a crucifixion of everything false inside you. A death, a rebirth, a lifelong war against the part of you that still wants to be liked. It means solitude over safety, fire over comfort, truth over validation, silence over noise. It means losing the world to find your soul. You will bleed. You will be alone. You will be misunderstood. But if you endure that fire, what's left will be unbreakable. You don't need to be saved. You need to be seized. By the version of yourself you keep locking in the basement. By the voice that doesn't scream, but demands. The version of you that was never born, because you were too busy being what they needed. Set him free. If this didn't just inspire you, if it cracked something open, if it forced you to face yourself in a way you can't unsee, then comment, "I choose to own myself." And send this to a brother who's still asleep, still trapped in routine, still mistaking obedience for peace. Don't let him die in a cage he calls freedom. Not when there's a kingdom waiting inside him.